Okay, good morning. Welcome, guys. Nice to have you here just to talk a little bit about our front of house management procedures as we head into season. Season is upon us. Yesterday was the 16th, which means that hopefully it's going to be picking up busyness. A lot of people going on leave at the moment, so hopefully there'll be a lot of visitors, family visitors, and people having a reason to go out and have a little bit of a meal. So part and parcel of what's really important is that I wanted to just chat to you all about how do we go about running our front of houses that much better. So let's start off with a little video that I want to share with you by this particular gentleman. So we'll watch this and then we'll take it from there.
Story time. About 15 years ago, I was in my early 20s and I had an assistant manager role for the first time. I was a front of house manager in a bar and grill. One day, an employee spilled something, I don't remember what, but I got a mop and I started cleaning it for him because it was busy. And the regional vice president came up to me and said, "What are you doing? That's not your job. That's not what I pay you for." 15 years later, I still think about it. So it made an impression on me. Was he right or was he wrong? I'm Matt Roberts of Restaurant Ninjas, and today we're going to ponder that question, and we're going to talk about the roles and responsibilities for the various positions on a restaurant management team. Hey everybody, welcome back to Restaurant Ninjas, where I help you run your restaurant and not let your restaurant run you. If you are a restaurant manager, a restaurant owner, a restaurant multi-unit manager, this is a channel for you. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and come back every week when I post a new video. If you are a leader or a manager in any other industry, you're probably going to want to hit subscribe too, because most of the stuff that I talk about is applicable to any type of leader. I'm really passionate about what the actual responsibilities are of managers and supervisors because I think a lot of them don't really know. In fact, I think a lot of multi-unit managers and owners don't really know the answer either. They might answer it in such dumb ways as saying, "to manage." Great. The key running theme to all of this, though, is accountability. Owners, you'll be able to use this video to help set expectations with managers on what they should be doing on both a daily basis as well as over time. General managers, use this video to help understand how to structure the responsibilities within your four walls and be able to explain them to your team. I'm going to break this down by the three most common levels within a restaurant manager's totem pole. So general manager, assistant manager, shift supervisor. I'm going to talk a little bit about what our actual goal is as managers and what the number one job of all restaurant managers is. But first, I'm going to talk about what the number one goal of every restaurant manager should be, and it's really simple. Happy customers, happy employees. This generally translates to overall success, as simple as that. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it. The end goal is always making money, but that's the best way to get there. So to go all Webster's dictionary on you, the definition of a manager is one who controls and administers all events day by day, task by task. And the most important task, day in and day out, is running great shifts. This is a lost art that is just something that is completely forgotten about, but it is by far the most important role of any level of management. So what does running a great shift look like? I can actually sum it up in three words: motivate, validate, circulate. Yeah, it's really that simple. The thing is though, this isn't just like a switch you can flip and be like, "Hey, I'm good at running shifts now." It's an art that you master slowly over time. If you're a football fan and you pay attention to the game, one way to think about it is that shift running is a lot like game management for a head coach. So with game managing, you spend your time motivating from the sidelines and validating that they're doing things correctly. And if they're not, or if the defense is better than your offense, you're making adjustments in game to be able to achieve your goals. Also, like sports, being a good coach doesn't happen overnight. A great example of this is Bill Belichick, who's probably the best coach in any sport of all time. Think about this. His first job as a coach was with the Cleveland Browns, a garbage organization. They had Bill Belichick. What did they do? They fired him because he wasn't very good. But he learned and he got better and he became the best ever. So remember that when you're trying to teach someone to be a good shift runner, it doesn't just click overnight. It takes time to develop this skill. Let's dive a little bit more into the motivate, validate, and circulate. So what do I mean by them? Let's start off with motivate. So when motivating during a shift, you can do it in quite a few different ways using quite a few different tools. It starts with a pre-shift meeting where you set the expectations of the day and get them on the right page. Coaching throughout probably goes without saying, as does reinforcement, both good and bad. If they do something good, hey, high five, great job with that. If they do something bad, say, "Hey, Corey, come here real quick. Let me show you what you did wrong." You should also be checking in with them regularly. Hey, Sam, you doing okay? Do you need help? Do you need a hand? Everything's good? Awesome. Let me know if you need anything. You also want to set the tone with enthusiasm because people come into work in various moods and you don't want those moods translating to the customers. One of my favorite ways to do this was during pre-shift meetings. I would have a dad joke prepared by day. For whatever reason, that tended to break the ice of people when they came in the door, and they were good to go from that point forward. Remember, a big part of motivating is setting the tone with your own enthusiasm. If you don't seem happy to be there, if you don't seem enthusiastic for the mission of serving the customers, they're not going to be. The next piece of running a great shift is validate. So what do I mean by validate? That's just really making sure everything's been done correctly. Are the right people in the right place at the right time? Are all of the various tools being used correctly? So prep lists, checklists, cash management, labor management. Are people coming in on time? Are people leaving on time, being checked out? Is food safety being adhered to? These are all things that you validate during a shift. And in order to both validate and motivate, you need to circulate. That means that you're doing figure eights, travel paths, management by walking around, whatever you want to call it. When you're doing this, you're validating customer service, you're validating morale and raising it where it needs to be. You're validating standards, you're validating the SOPs are being done. As you can see, these three words all tie in together. If you're bad at one, you're not going to be great at the other two. But the great thing is, once you learn to do one, you start getting better at the other two. A part of circulating is assisting with the job. That doesn't mean doing the job for the employees, but it does mean helping them, and they respect that. So go back to my story at the beginning about me picking up the mop. Should I have been doing that? Was I out of my lane? No. They spilled something and they needed help because they were taking care of customers. I should have either done what I did by mopping or taken care of the customer for them. I chose to mop. Either one would have been fine. The inverse of this would have been if that employee was standing in a corner texting, or if another employee who could have been mopping was standing in the corner texting while I did the work, then yeah. So let's talk about what each level of the management team should be doing. So we'll start with shift supervisor. Their number one job is to run great shifts. That's it. Most of the time, shift supervisors are your least experienced people. They're people who were servers or cooks who got promoted and it's their first leadership job. That's really all they need to worry about. I've already established that running great shift is the most important part of being a manager, so let's start with that and make sure they can master that before we start having them do anything else. Between running great shifts and developing their ability to coach, they're eventually going to be a really good assistant manager, but if you pour too much on them too soon, they won't ever develop that skill. You won't give them the time to learn to run great shifts, and that's a problem because once you miss it, it's really hard to go back and make it up. It's like learning how to do something wrong and then having to fix it later. When we move into assistant managers, it's a little bit different. Their number one job is also running great shifts, but at this point in their development, they should be running pretty darn good shifts day in and day out with a pretty high level of consistency. They should also be looking at the tools and the systems, the checklists and whatnot, and saying, this doesn't make sense. I should take it to my boss and possibly change it. So they should help refine them. They should also be really involved in the overall development of your staff. They should be able to tell you who the best are, who the worst are, what everybody needs to work on, and they should be able to be having coaching conversations with them as well. I've always been a fan of, with larger teams, having each of my assistant managers own a portion of the team and make that their team, so they were their direct supervisor. Some restaurants this is easier than others because a lot of the time the role of assistant manager is broken down even farther to bar manager or kitchen manager. Sometimes the kitchen manager is elevated to like an assistant general manager, or the bar manager is. It's all generally the same role. And in those situations, they're going to own some metrics. The kitchen manager is going to really be the one looked at for inventory levels and food costs. Bar manager for liquor levels and liquor costs. Service manager for the service scores. That's really the big difference when you're looking at an assistant manager and a shift supervisor. When you move up to general manager, at this point, this guy should be the best person at running shifts, period. They shouldn't be running every shift. In fact, they should run minimal shifts because they should be observing the shift running and making sure their managers get better at it. They should be accountable for everything. When you're the GM, if something goes wrong in your restaurant, whether you're there or not, it's your fault, your problem, your responsibility. That's what you signed up for. A good general manager is the team captain. It's who everybody feels comfortable going to with everything. They're also the one who takes the resources that and the information given to them by the shift supervisors, and then more prominently the assistant managers, and helps develop the systems to make sure that they're running great day to day, no matter who's doing it. And as I said, whatever happens, they're responsible for. And this is really, really, really hard to teach, and it seems like it's becoming harder to teach by the day. So when you have someone who understands that, hold on to them and take good care of them because it's really hard to find. Question of the day time. What is the most difficult thing to get managers, especially newer ones, in your restaurant to consistently execute on well? Hit me up in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Hope you're having a great day. Remember, it's a beautiful day to be alive. Later.
All right, so what does the Restaurant Ninja have to say there is, yeah, it is a beautiful day to be alive. Which are some very important points that I think that he shares with us there regarding our responsibilities as a manager. He speaks about the different levels of managers, whether that be the GM, the manager, or the shift supervisor. But some of the key things that just come through there is that, especially when it comes to the assistant manager that he refers to, he uses something that I think is really important, and that is that it is our role as management within the businesses to, yes, run great shifts, but it's also to look at what's going on in the business in a minute-to-minute, hour-by-hour scenario, and see how can things be done better. How do we need to coach people? Do we need to guide people? Do we need to change a process? Do we need to change the way we're doing something? Is there a misunderstanding of some information? And this is often what I find with some managements, that they normally sometimes just come to work, just to get through the shift. They don't look for ways in which they could possibly make the shift better, look for ways to just improve efficiency. So yeah, just something to think about. I think it's a really good video. The other thing that he also chats about is that the role of the manager is that you need to motivate, validate, and circulate. Three very, very important words that us as managers, especially when we're walking in our businesses, whether you're on the front of house or you're in the back of house, you need to motivate, validate, and circulate. So what do we mean by that? Motivate is when you're steering people towards a future, to be going forward. You're making them excited about an idea of where they want to go. All right, and that's what you want to do. Is you want to motivate those people. The other concept is that you want to go and possibly, if possible, go and validate. And what is validate? Validate is a very, very important part of what we do, because when we validate, what we are doing is validation is about praising people. It's catching them doing things right. So when validating, we are continuously looking for ways to make things, to praise people, to catch people doing things right. So as the manager in the business, you need to motivate, validate, then circulate. And the only way, like he says, is that you can motivate and validate is via circulating. You have to be moving around your business. You have to be doing figure eights. You have to be doing section walks. You have to be going through and very much catching people doing things right. But importantly, coaching people to be good at what they do. So when we talk about the role of a front of house manager and the role of the manager within the business, your role as you head towards now into December, and we're getting thick into things of December, is that, are we actually following that motivate, validate, and circulate? So just something to be very, very aware of, please, and to
story time. About
so
15 years.
If we can just get this video to no longer do that. All right. So what are we going to be talking about today? We've spoken about the role of front of house manager, value of good front of house management, just some quick examples, some planning procedures for COVID, your front of house managing, inspecting your front of house area, allocating bays, pre-shift meetings, and then what to do during service. So one more little video that I'd like to watch just gives you a very good understanding of what we need to do from a management perspective as a front of house manager.
If you love to work in a fast-paced environment with a talented team of people, here's a tip. Consider a career as a restaurant manager. I'm Viviana.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
This is a beautiful restaurant.
Do you want to come in?
Yes, show me around.
I'm Angela Lowen. I'm the restaurant manager at the Wild Apple here in Kelowna, BC. I come in, I check the schedule, make sure I've got all the proper staffing on, check reservations, things like that. Just make sure that if there's any special events, my staff and the kitchen staff know what's going on. From there, I basically just help with service, making sure standards are always fulfilled and always met. Staying on top of inventory, I need to be on point with all upcoming trends, with new alcohols that are coming out, new cocktails that are happening. You always keep track of what is sold and you reorder what is sold and what is sold successfully. You don't want too much sitting on your shelves, taking up valuable real estate. Important skills are you need to direct and delegate as well as take on responsibility for yourself. Using people's strengths and weaknesses is a big part of the job. Not everybody is the strongest at, say, large parties, that sort of thing. So you pick and choose the right people to do certain jobs. When I was in university, we did quite a few projects and groups and things like that. And by default, I always ended up sort of being the leader or the project manager of the group. So with that, I was able to realize that I did a good job managing people and picking out people's strengths and weaknesses. So from there, a management role just became natural. I went to BCIT and I took the marketing and business course there. It was a 2-year diploma, and I also took my sommelier, and I wanted to learn a lot more about wine, and it's definitely helped me get to where I am. It's not something you necessarily need, but it's an asset to have. Some key things that are important: serving it right is very important. Food safe is also a necessity. First aid helps quite a bit too. To have that behind you will help on the resume too. Social skills are a big part of the day. I try to get to every table and talk to each guest and just make sure that they're enjoying their experience. This is a good example of a bill that needs some extra care and attention. We have allergies on it as well as modifications.
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay, carrot brie soup, gluten allergy.
It's this guy right here, no bread.
Okay, no bread on the carrot soup. Then we have seafood chowder. That must be this guy.
Yep, let's go fast. We got people waiting. I usually put in quite long hours, 10 to 12-hour days on average. In the summertime, you're here on the floor helping the guests, and then in the winter time when it's a little bit quieter, I'm usually doing a little bit more office work and getting the training manuals organized and trying to get prepared for the next season. For me, the most rewarding is when guests get engaged here and then they come back on their first anniversary. That, to me, there's nothing more special than being a part of someone's history and being a part of someone's life. I've watched hostesses grow up to become amazing servers, and just the whole family dynamic that restaurants have between front of house and back of house. Being able to meet people, enhance their day, enhance their family time together. Verbal and nonverbal communication is huge. There's a lot of times where you just look across the room and you make eye contact with a server and they need to know exactly what you're thinking and exactly what you expect them to do. You need to be able to have that skill, and even verbal communication, when you have an expectation of somebody and you have a standard that needs to be met, you need to be able to articulate and communicate it to them so that they understand.
Angela, I noticed that you also have server duties in addition to your managerial duties. How does that work?
Yeah, well, to be a manager, you have to be very willing to be hands-on, and no job is below you. So you polish glasses, bus tables, you'll take orders if need be, whatever you need to do for the success of the guest. Someone in my position has endless opportunities. They can go work for companies that do our point of sale. They can work for the companies that do the reservation systems, programming, working for hardware or software. You can become a wedding planner or event organizer. You could do sales and marketing after this. You could just become GM of a restaurant or even a resort if that's your passion. It's very rewarding in watching the fruits of your labor go through, instilling training and standards for people, seeing success and happiness with your guests.
To summarize, some of the skills you'll need include motor coordination, manual dexterity, verbal and written comprehension. You'll also need to be social, directive. You'll usually require 1 to 2 years of post-secondary education. The average salary can range from $11,000 to $33,000 per year. The future outlook for this job is promising, as employment is increasing in the coming years, and the unemployment rate is expected to decrease. Well, thank you so much, Angela. I had a great time following you today.
My pleasure.
Once again, this is Career Trek, and I'm Viviana, reminding you that this career could be yours. See you next time.
So I think that's an interesting little clip, and it looks like I'm recruiting to get people to go work overseas, but it's not that. It's just to really give you a bit of a breakdown and understanding of what is expected of a of a manager when you are working on the floor. I think that what's really important that they bring across there is your responsibility is to assist and to follow a concept called servant leadership. And what is servant leadership? Servant leadership is where you help people to look after the guests, to make sure the business is running well. The lady even says there that she is all about making sure that the guest has a great experience. And if she's got to bust tables, which means clear tables, she's got to polish some wine glasses, she's got to roll some knobs and forks, whatever it might be, then that's what's needed so that the guests can have the best possible experience within her restaurant. I think that it's also really important that I find is vital in our managing of the floor, and that is the social side of it. I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to be sociable. Find reasons to talk to your guests. I'll walk up to the tables and I have conversation with them as if they're a long lost friend. And I think that for me is one of the differences that we need to try and create within our management of our floor areas, particularly in season. I find myself walking up to the guests. Hey, hi, good morning. Nice to have you here. Oh, are you on leave now? Have you got any plans? Just making sure that the guests are there. I was walking around the floor yesterday on the 16th, and there was a gentleman with four daughters, 4 young girls, maybe all under the age of like 12. And I said, hey, how's it? Nice to see you. I see you've got all these girls and you're on daddy duty today or something like that. But and it's just noticing who he is and just having a bit of a conversation and making sure that he's being looked after, because all the girls are chatting to each other and he's kind of a little bit on the outside. I don't know if it's his daughters or daughters and friends, but he'd obviously decided that he was taking out the girls for breakfast yesterday and make a conversation about that. It's not just about how are you doing? Is everything okay? It's not about just making sure that they don't complain. It's about connecting with the guests. I fully believe that we need to fulfill the person. We need to get into their hearts, ladies and gentlemen. We don't just look after their stomachs, but we get into their psyche and we make them feel as comfortable as possible. And I think that's a very important aspect that sometimes is often lost when it comes to front of house management and being there, is it's connecting with the guests, and especially in today's times with COVID-19. One of the most important things is to just be friendly to our guests, to just be caring towards them. There's a saying that service fulfills a need, whereas hospitality fulfills the person. And that's what I believe in. I believe in fulfilling the person, not only just making sure that their stomachs are full, but also that I've engaged with them and made their hearts happy, and in turn made their heads happy. Okay, so what do we have a look at here? And it says here, what is the role of a front of house manager? And I'm going to read it out to you. It says the role of a front of house manager is to supervise and coordinate the entire front of house team. He ensures the guest receives a warm welcome and that service invested and that the service runs smoothly. He may also be involved in recruiting his team and carrying out administrative tasks. The front of house manager is also responsible for ensuring that the restaurant is profitable, in line with the objectives set by the management team. The front of house manager is also responsible for ensuring the customer receives the warmest welcome possible. They do this by monitoring the way in which each member of the front of house team works, but may also welcome customers in person, give advice, and converse with them to ensure that everything is going well. And I think that these words are very, very important. And I'd like to just highlight a couple of them, and that is supervise and coordinate. Yes, your responsibility is to be like a policeman, a traffic controller who is just coordinating people, making sure that they know where they're going. Have they been to that table? Is their food ready? Let's go and help with that food. Who are we going to go and greet those guests at the door? Who's going to help carry food to the table? Who do I need to move from one table to another table because I can see that they may be the size of the table may not be they may not be adequately skilled enough to do that. And this is what your responsibility is to maneuver around, just observing and coaching your team. He ensures that everybody receives a warm welcome, and that service runs smoothly. And I think that the warm welcome is a very important part. As the management, are we giving the guests a warm welcome when they walk in? Big smile on our faces. Yes, we've got masks on. They can't see us, but are you still, hello, how are you? Welcome, great to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's a big thing is that every time the guest walks into my business or into any of our businesses, we just have to be so grateful and thankful that this guest chose to come to our restaurants. And are we there? That they climbed in their car to drive to us to specifically come and have a meal. And this is what we need to be focusing on, that warm welcome. but the warm welcome throughout the guest experience. The next point speaks to us about recruiting, and it says is involved in recruiting his team. I want to talk about recruiting, but more a re-recruiting. How often do we re-recruit our team? How do we re-recruit our guests? How many of us spend the time going and noticing that these guests have become regulars? Do we go and find out their names? And I always share the story of two guests who came to my restaurant, and they came in on the first day, the first weekend when you were allowed to come in and have a meal, and when sit down was allowed, and they came in, and the next weekend they came in, and the following weekend they came in, the next weekend they came in. Now they've been in 3 weekends. I don't even know their name. So I walked up to them and said, "Hey, hi, my name's Dave. I don't know your names. May I, And they introduced themselves as Gareth and Bernice. I said, well, welcome, Gareth and Bernice. It's such a joy to have you here every weekend, and we look and thank you. Just thank you. And Gareth and Bernice kept on coming, and eventually they'd been 8 weeks in a row. And I turned to my partner, Chris, and I said, Chris, I said, these guys keep on coming in. I'd like to do something for them on their 10th visit. So I went forward in the diary and paged forward to that date that was 10 weeks of continuous visits. And I wrote there that Gareth and Bernice's breakfast would be on the house. Needless to say, Gareth and Bernice had also been coming during the week. They'd be coming for burgers, they'd be coming for T-bones, they'd be coming and enjoying themselves. So it was actually more than their 10th visit by the time we got there. That was their 10th Saturday. And Gareth and Bernice walked into that business, and when they walked in on that Saturday, they sat down, they ate. Everybody looked after them as if they were family. And then when it was time to present their bill, we walked up to their bill to the table with the bill, and we just burnt the bill. We burnt the bill in front of them. Like, what's going on? No, we just wanted to thank you so much for your support over the last couple of weeks, and we really do appreciate it. And this was, and for me, that's like re-recruiting. That's just making sure that I say to the guests, thank you so much. We're not always just about take. We do want to try and give back to the people who are supporting us. And whether that's a breakfast or whether it's a bottle of red wine or something like that, and it mustn't be done because it's a promotion. It gets done from the heart. We do it because we really are thankful that the guest is doing this for us. So this is what I like to just really harp on a little bit in terms of our front of house managers role. And then, like it says here, is to ensure that we are making sure that the business is profitable. We do need to do that. Are we watching our waiters shifts, staff shifts, food costs, the way we are running things? Yes. Cutting down on electricity usage, or we're monitoring telephone usage, etc., but always never at the expense of the guest experience. So, as a front of house manager, it's so much more than just standing at a till and taking the cash. It's so much more than just walking around and doing a bay list and a table allocation and then doing a vibe meeting. And so much more than just walking up to tell, how are you enjoying your meal? It's about connecting with the guests and ensuring that they too have a great time. Okay, so what is the value of good front of house management? Well, all the guests both expect and demand quick and efficient and above all friendly service. It is our duty to recognize this and set a benchmark of service in your restaurant that is predicted on the principle that excellent and warm service will ensure a repeat visit. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, our whole objective is to ensure that our guests return, that our guests come back, and that they have a great time. And for me, it's very much about guests spending happy money. I want people to spend happy money. Sometimes, you'll even work in your environment, and it could be busy. And I'll say, hey, how was it? No, it was busy. But a question I even asked the management, was it happy money? Did you as a manager actually enjoy earning that money, or was it painful? And you all know that there are some shifts that are a little bit painful, but for the guests, most importantly is the guest having a good time, and that they spend happy money. So how do we go about doing this? We plan, organize, control, and obviously we show leadership. So what is that we have a look at here? And that is that we want to have a look at examples of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So planning is ensuring that you do have sufficient service ambassadors on shift. Organize is making sure that you've allocated bays to your service ambassadors using your bay allocation sheet that is built in such a way that it makes it easy for the waiters and waitresses to work within the business. If I plan in sufficient people, I organize the people and I put my aces in their places, which means I put my best people in the right places. What's going to happen? I'm then going to organize and have a smooth shift. At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in the A team. I'm a firm believer in making sure that you have your best waiters and waitresses working on certain shifts. And if your best waiters and waitresses are working on certain shifts, it makes your life that much easier as the floor manager. Then lead. What do I do? When guests are in the restaurant, coach and direct your service ambassadors. Assist and lead by service example. Lead by the example you want to set, or that you want them to follow. So, being friendly, being helpful. All of these things are very, very important. And then controlling. And controlling is incredibly important because that's just making sure that everybody is enjoying their experiences and just walking around and ensuring that you're checking on the guests' meals, doing what's needed, maybe yourself offering to fill up drinks. But at the end of the day, you need to plan, organize, lead, and control. Have you got enough service ambassadors? Question is, have you got the right service ambassadors working on that shift? Then organize those service ambassadors so that they are in the right spaces, in the right places, aces in their places, and then lead and have fun. I think that one of the most important things as a floor manager is to enjoy yourself on the floor. Smile, relax, go and talk to guests. Just make sure that you are the host of a big party, that they have got everything that they want. And you'll find that your guests will come back and they will spend happy money. So some of the things we have to do at the beginning of a shift. And that is obviously to check the diary, make sure you've got your bookings, any go bookings that need to be done, any staff issues, product shortages. Have you planned your daily specials and promotions? Have you indicated those? What's your budget for the day so you can allocate targets to your waiters and waitresses? Prepare your table allocation in terms of where your waiters and waitresses or service ambassadors are going to be serving. Make sure that it's available and accessible to all of them. And I think what's really, really important, ladies and gentlemen, as you saw on the previous screen, is that we have to be so aware currently of our COVID-19 protocols. Please understand that our COVID-19 protocols are very important to still maintain. As you know, we're still in the throes of COVID-19, and we still need to make sure that we are doing sanitizing of hands at the front door. We're still screening temperatures at the front door, and then making sure that we're taking down the guests' contact details, just so that we, if needs be, we can do some contact tracing. It's very important that still we're sanitizing all the condiments and cutlery. We are sanitizing the tables and chairs as people arrive. These things are still very, very important. Just because we've moved to a different level does not mean that we must stop doing what we've been doing. All right. So please be very aware of all of this. Okay. So on that point, I just want to just do a little bit of a reminder of what we should be doing from a COVID-19 perspective.
Hi, I'm Julian, and our Spur family, we just want to say we are very excited to welcome you back at our restaurants. Today I'm just going to take you through some of the pointers as well as procedures that we've implemented at Spur to ensure the safety of you, our customer, our employees and our suppliers. As a customer, employee and supplier, you'll be screened to ensure that we maintain our hygiene protocols at all times. We will clean and sanitize your menu before we hand it over at your table. All condiments will be cleaned and sanitized before bringing it to your table to ensure that it's clean and sanitized at all times. We will demarcate service ambassador bays to ensure that only one service ambassador has contact with you at your table. As a customer, we would require you to follow the arrows within our business to ensure that we stick to flows to ensure limitless contact with other customers. For your safety, we have demarcated our bathrooms to ensure limited exposure. We have implemented additional hygiene as well as product procedures to ensure the safety of you, our customer. We frequently remind our employees of washing their hands as well as cleaning working surfaces. We at Spur are looking forward to you, our guests, coming back into our restaurants to enjoy your favorite meal.
very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to ensure that we are maintaining our standards, that we are maintaining the necessary standards from a COVID-19 protocol. Like it says there, is to please make sure that you obviously have got correct social distancing from tables. Sanitizers are available. Sanitizers are being used. Okay, so ask you just to maybe share that video and just make sure that you are following those protocols. I think it's also very, very important that we are doing daily cleaning, wiping down various surfaces. A lot of our guests want to walk into a very clean environment. If the environment's clean, they feel comfortable. And this is what gives them an impression that it's safe to be in our business. So sweeping and mopping floors, wiping down condiment dispensers, making sure that all menus are clean and sanitized. Speed point machines are also clean. All of these things help us to run successful businesses. So, and once again, at the end of the day, it makes our guests just feel more comfortable. And at the end of the day, if our guest is comfortable, the guest comes back, and that's one of the most important things. I was speaking to my partner, Chris, and I was just, we were looking at how we can get more tables and that into the restaurants, and et cetera. And I said to him, earlier on in the month, that it's we've always just got to make sure that one of the reasons why we are doing successfully and recovering from the past is because of our protocols. We can never jeopardize the protocols that we've got in place, because a lot of people will come to our restaurants because of how safe they are. Yes, they may not have full capacity seating, but because of our processes and safety, it makes them come here, okay, to your restaurant. All right, now allocating bays to service ambassadors. I think this is really, really important, and it's something that I've always spoken about, and I have quite a big feeling for it, and that is making sure that when you allocate your bays, is that first of all, you always allocate based on strength. I always believe that when you are the floor manager, you're like a football coach. You put in your best players in the best places that it suits them. That actually makes your life a little bit easier, because you don't have to worry about them. So, one thing that we've always spoken about is there's a process called QUDO. Then there's rotation, and then there's allocating tables. I think we all understand that QUDO is one of the worst ways to go about allocating tables, because what happens is you get those service ambassadors, waiters and waitresses who want to hog all the tables and want to serve as many tables as they possibly can. Therefore, with QUDO, they spend all their time at the table, they spend all their time at the door trying to get new tables, and they're the one who's running around spinning. Rotation is good. It does work. It allows for everybody to get fair and equal opportunity at tables. The one challenge with rotation is that it can happen that one waiter or service ambassador will have tables at opposite ends of the restaurant, which then can cause a problem for service. Kind of that out of mind, out of sight, out of mind kind of scenario kicks in there. So it's really important that as management, is that how are you allocating your tables? Now, one thing that we've done is I'm a firm believer in obviously allocating tables to people. And what we've done in our business is we've gone and we've allocated tables to waiters and waitresses. But then what we do is we fill up the tables as the people come in. So what that means is, say for instance, you've got Timothy, Enoch, Tracy, and Dave. The first table that comes in goes to Timothy's tables, his bay. The next table goes to one of Enoch's tables in his bay. The next table goes to Tracy, to one of the tables in her bay. The fourth table that walks in goes to one of Dave's table in his bays. So yes, everybody has allocated tables, but what we do is we try and rotate the guests through those bays. So effectively what happens is when the fifth table walks in, it goes to Timothy, sixth goes to Enoch, seventh goes to Tracy, eighth goes to Dave, ninth table goes to Timothy. Now, what's the benefit of doing that? The benefit of doing that is that as much as possible, it helps to prevent waiters and waitresses from spinning. You'll find your service ambassadors are able to build up their tables, because what I've realized recently is that when as a service ambassador at their busiest, they're at their busiest when they're taking an order. When they're standing at the table taking an order from a guest, they cannot do anything else. They can't look at another guest. They're completely focused on that table. Then when they're at their second busiest, when they have to deliver the food. But when the guest is waiting for their food, or the guest is eating, that's when the waiter or service ambassador isn't busy, because they can wander and walk around between all their tables doing small little things of service that add value to the guest experience. So what happens is that if we start with Timothy and he gets his first table, Timothy is busy, he's taking the order. Then once he's placed the order, he's actually waiting 10, 15 minutes for the product to be made. He's only going to be busy again when he needs to deliver the food. So now Enoch Scott gets a table, same thing happens to him, Tracy and Dave get a table. Now, the next table that comes in, the fifth table that walks in, we give them to Timothy. Now, understanding that Timothy's got one table, he's already taken the order, there's a very good chance that the table is still waiting for their food. Now Timothy walks up to the table, he can take the order because he wasn't busy. He now takes the order, puts it into the computer. Now he's got two tables that are busy waiting for their food. In the meantime, while all of this is happening, one of his meals is ready. So Timothy takes the food to table number one. By now, Dave has got a table, and now Timothy gets his third table that comes in. So now if you picture it, Timothy's first table is eating. They don't need to see him. Timothy's second table is waiting for their food. They don't need to see him. Timothy's third table has just arrived. They need him because they need to take a drink. But Timothy's not busy. Now he takes the order, puts it into the computer, starts getting made. So now he's got two tables waiting, one table eating. All the tables come through. Now what happens? We're up to the 13th table walks into the restaurant. It just happens to be Timothy's fourth table. So now Timothy's probably got two tables eating and one table waiting for their food. He's not busy. Now he's got the ability to now take the order from his fourth table. And this is what I mean, is that this is about managing and structuring your way around a floor. It's not about just once the guests come in that the waiters and waitresses and service ambassadors must just take on any tables. A good floor manager manages where the tables are going so that there's fair and equal ways in which the waiters can have tables each. I actually refer to it as sharing the wealth, because I don't believe it's fair that if four of us are on shift, that Enoch has all the tables and we're standing around, even though we've incurred costs to be at the restaurant. So this way, what happens is everybody gets fair and equal opportunity at the table. Also, what happens is we're building our tables up slowly. So what happens is actually, by the time a fifth table may be needed to be served by Timothy or any of us, we're actually quite comfortable in being able to do this because nobody has been stuck with two tables at the same time. Because that's what causes waiters and waitresses and service ambassadors to spin, is when they get too many tables at the same time. So my challenge or question to you is that as you look at your allocation of tables and the way you set up your businesses come today over lunchtime, how are you managing where the guests are sitting so that there's no spinning out of a service ambassador? I often observe in my own restaurants where I look at the certain section and I say to the management, hey, why is there nobody sitting over there? We need to put the next table there so that waiter or service ambassador can get a table and start serving so that we don't all of a sudden double or triple to them. So these are just little things that we need to be aware of, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of allocating base. It is a science. You have to think about it. And your responsibility as the manager is to manage the floor, is to motivate, validate, and circulate. Not just do the pre-trade check, do the morning vibe meeting, check the cash up, and then say to everybody, okay, cool, we're open. And then the waiters and waitresses just kind of take over the service of the business. No, you are there to manage it. Okay. So like it says, use a mentor system for your newer service ambassadors to help people to be able to manage their environments. Okay. So let's have a little look here in terms of earning respect. It's always something on people's mind. And this is something that I just wanted to throw in here because I think that a lot of management are always wondering, how do I go about earning the respect of my people?
I want to teach you how to earn the respect of your restaurant staff. Hi folks, my name is Ryan Gromf and I'm an author, speaker, chef, restaurateur, and I'm the founder of therestaurantboss.com, restaurantprofitandperformance.com, as well as clickbacon.com. And I want to share with you a couple of different ideas when it comes to respect. I get this all the time from clients and from employees in clients' restaurants and just in casual conversation with people when they talk about how their staff doesn't listen or their staff doesn't do what they're supposed to do because they don't have the title or because their staff doesn't respect them. And so I was just on the phone with a client yesterday and it got me thinking about this because the client's like, we were talking about some things that need to change and the client said, well, I'm just going to go into the kitchen. I'm going to demand that this happens and they're going to respect me because I'm going to be firm and I'm going to put my foot down and that's going to be it. And I told him, I said, if you do that, it's going to get worse. Because one, your staff doesn't respect you now, and they're going to respect you even less after you do that. So let's quickly talk about what it means to earn respect. I believe there's two factors to earning respect. The first factor is that you have to be able to improve their lives. If you don't have any way or any skill or anything that will make their life easier or better, they're never going to respect you. You're never going to earn their respect. It's as plain and simple as that. Your job is to improve their life. Whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, whether it's a staff member, it doesn't matter. If you are not improving their lives, they're not going to respect you. The second piece to earning respect is unconditional love. Now, you may think unconditional love. What is this guy? This guy's crazy. He's talking about love. He's talking about restaurant staff. He's talking about improving people's lives. But bear with me for a second. If you have children that are of the teeth brushing age, then you probably know what I'm talking about here. If you don't, you were a child at some point of the teeth brushing age. And what I mean by that is that as parents, how many times do we ask our kids before they go to sleep, did you brush your teeth? And they usually say, no, I forgot, or no, I didn't. And what do we say? Okay, get out of bed, go brush your teeth, come back into bed. Now, how many times do you do that before you stop loving your children? At what number of toothbrush reminders do you say, that's it, I don't love my kids anymore? The answer is never, right? I mean, it's kind of a joke, but you're never going to stop loving your kids because they forget to brush their teeth. But the reality is, we do this to our staff all the time. We remind our staff 2 or 3 times to do something, and if they can't remember at that point, we just cut them off. We don't love them anymore. We don't take care of them anymore. We no longer put the effort into them. We write this person off as they're never going to know how to do that. They're irresponsible. They're childish. I'm babysitting them, and we give up. But the reality is, it's your job to improve their life. It's your job to develop them into a better employee. It's your job to put the systems in place so that they don't forget to do this. It's your job to show them the unconditional love that they need, the same unconditional love you would extend to a child to ensure that their life gets better. If you think that's too much responsibility for you as a manager, that might be why you're struggling to earn your staff's respect. My name's Ryan Gronfin. I hope you enjoyed today's training, and I look forward to bringing you another free training just like this one next week. Have a wonderful day.
So I think that what happens is that what is he talking about there is that how do you go about earning respect? And I think that the one way in which you go about earning respect, as he so rightly says, is I think it's when you make lives easier for people. Now, I know a lot of people will think, no, but that's a bit strange. Why do I want to do that? I'm the boss. They should be making my life easier. But don't look at it in terms of a business perspective. Just look at it in terms of life. If you look at the people that you respect, those are the people you respect, are the people you trust, are the people who try and actually make things easier for you to do your life. If that makes sense. I know that sounds weird as it is, but you know, if I want to make sure that my boys could do well at school, what do I need to make sure I do? I've got to make sure they have all the equipment, that they have all the textbooks, that they have all of those things. If I don't get them the textbooks, if I'm chaotic and I'm disorganized, what happens is they can't perform at their top ability. So we need to make sure that we help them improve in terms of what they do. And I firmly believe that this is what happens, is that a lot of people my management style is to try and make sure that people have what they need in order to do their jobs properly. because I don't want to give people the opportunity of an excuse. Oh no, we don't have this, or we don't have, that's why we can't do it properly. Because unfortunately, people they will jump to any form of excuse to give a reason as to why they weren't able to do a job properly. And but if I go and make sure that I have an organized environment for them, where they have what they need to perform their tasks, you will often find that the environment will be a good working environment. Um, and I truly do believe in that, so that people can actually do their jobs. If you think about it, most people who have left jobs, people, they say, don't leave businesses, they leave management. They leave the way that they get treated, the way they leave because of the way that the working conditions. If it's very difficult to work in an environment, people will leave. Let's think about it. If you're a service ambassador and there's constantly out of stock items, there is a computer system that doesn't work properly, or there's staff that don't know what they're doing, which results in burnt product, or incorrectly prepared meals. What happens is the service ambassador needs to now deal with those situations with the guest. They eventually get tired of having to explain to the guest why certain things are the way they are. So what happens is they just don't feel that things work within that business. So it's very important that you look at it and say, well, how do I make the people's lives around me easier so that they can work? As an example, for me, simple. How do I make my wife's life a little bit easier? Is I make sure that there's enough money in the credit card machine, so that she can go and buy the required amount of groceries. Because there's nothing worse than getting to the front of the line, swiping the card, and it says that it's declined. First of all, it's embarrassing. But and then if I do that and I never make sure that there's enough money in there, what's going to happen? Eventually, she's going to lose it. So come on, man, what is wrong with you? I make sure that she has petrol in her car, so that she doesn't have to stress about where she drives, etc., etc. And these are little things that we do. And I'm using family as an example because I want you to realize that this is how you earn respect of people in life. And then it's unconditional love. And that unconditional love one really does stretch some people, especially when we talk leadership and management. Like some people say, how am I supposed to continuously love somebody who keeps on making mistakes? It is tough. Yes, I'm not all about just forgive and forget. At some point, a performance appraisal needs to be done. At some point, there needs to be some form of disciplinary action that gets taken. And people need to be living and learning from mistakes that they make. But the idea is not to continuously just be like hung up on the wrong things that they do. If they are not part and parcel of the future of your business, then it's a different process, and you need to make sure that you engage in the correct disciplinary processes. But if you trust the person, you believe in them, and they may be making the one or two odd mistake, you know what? You've got to like get on with it. It's like he says with our children. That's what we do. We have to, and what I also enjoy there that he says is that management is about being like a babysitter. And I know a lot of you are not going to agree with this, but it is. You're constantly reminding, have you done this? Have you done that? Have we done this? Etc. Etc. And if you just, it might be tedious to you, but by constantly reminding, eventually what will happen is those things won't need to be reminded of anymore. And this is our role as management, as leaders within our business. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little video there. I think it's quite enlightening, and yeah, let's see. So now we've got pre-shift meetings. We need to ensure, obviously, that we are following all our protocols in terms of our people. We've conducted the meeting in a way that's feel motivated and positive, handing out any compliments, ask the staff for any input on any direct questions on topics that have been discussed. I think that it's really, really important that your vibe meetings, your meetings that you have are two-way meetings, that they are a path of people sharing their ideas of how they can be better, giving them an opportunity to have a question. I don't think that the vibe meeting should be one way. And yes, it needs to be positive and motivating, especially now. Find fun things to do. Find games to play. Pass the buck. Play bingo. Have a jaw. I mean, really just go and enjoy December. You know, people are tired. They're going to be tired come next week. January, they're going to get tired. But what are we doing? What game of bingo can we have to enjoy ourselves? You know, ask, get an experienced service ambassador to share some useful tips. You know, for example, what they as an individual do to increase their tips. Maybe it's a smile. Maybe it's the way in which they serve something. Maybe it's a small joke that they have. How do they sell more desserts than anybody else? What is it their secret to selling sauces, or what's their secret to selling a starter? How do they get it right? Is there a particular bottle of wine? Get them to help you become successful. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think that those shift meetings are a great way now to just enjoy people and make sure that they're in a positive mindset, because they are in the process of making money, and you also want to make money. Okay, so when you are doing it, obviously ensure that you check all their tools that are available. And what's very important is point number 3. It says recap everything that was discussed with a quick spot quiz. And what do we mean by that is that quiz the service ambassadors on the information on the duties list to see if they've consulted the notice board. Like, what's out of stock? What's a special for today? What bookings are coming in? Those kind of things. Are they being done? And this is what we as floor management need to ensure we're doing. Are we setting people up for success and making sure that we have a great time? And are you setting the pace of that? Okay, so during service, we've spoken about our role as the manager. We've spoken about our role of motivate, validate, circulate. We've spoken about how we must set up our bays, how we must set up our tables, that we've got our aces in their places, that we're managing the tables in such a way that as the guests come in, we're going to strategically put people in the right places so that our waiters and waitresses don't become overwhelmed. We're going to make sure that we are checking on the tables and being social. Hello, how are you? Welcome. Nice to have you here. Are you from out of town? Great to have you here. Have you gone to some of the wine farms? Thank goodness you can go to the wine farms and visit places. Are you enjoying, just really trying to fill the guest with hospitality, and that's to fulfill the person. So then we've done a little vibe meeting. We've made sure that we've followed all our protocols in terms of COVID-19, and we haven't let the COVID-19 protocols bring us down. We haven't had a situation of, welcome, please come in, let's sanitize your hands. Hello, how are you? Let's sanitize your hands. So thank you. Let's take a temperature. Come through with me. We need to make sure that we are coming across as motivated, positive, and vibing. Okay. And this is like the circulate and part of motivate, validate, and circulate. So now we motivated and we motivated and validated. A lot of that has been occurring through our vibe meetings. And now it's time to circulate. And as you're circulating through your business, doing that figure 8, what are you doing? You're looking to see exactly what's going on, and you're being, like I said, that traffic cop who's now directing the traffic. So like I said, when you walk through the front of house, are you checking on both the guests and on the service ambassadors? Were duties completed properly? We're checking the cleanliness and availability of glassware, cutlery, and crockery. Are you going through into the scullery section and seeing how that has been set up? Are you making sure that the bar has sufficient stock? Are the drinks coming out on time? Very important. Are you assessing the ambience, the vibe, the energy levels? What's happening there? The temperature. If it's cold outside, is it warm inside? If it's hot outside, which is probably going to get, is it nice and cool inside your restaurant? The vibe. We talk about, like, ambience is the you can sense when people are in a good mood and having a good time. I think what's important here is constantly keeping an eye on the speed of service. Is the food coming out of the kitchen on time, not fast, but on time, at the time that is expected for a guest. They don't mind, people don't mind waiting 15-20 minutes for a meal, but don't make me wait half an hour. Are we aware of it? One of my biggest things is that, the food goes into the kitchen, is that before the food is about to be plated, are the coordinators, people at the pass, actually like saying, all right, we're now sending Tracy's food. Let's make sure that we send Tracy's food. So then what happens is, as the floor manager, and let's say the floor manager is Clayton turns around and he says, hey, Tracy, I just want to let you know we're plating your food to swim it. Because one of my biggest frustrations is that when you walk past the pass, there's all this food sitting on the pass and there's no service ambassador near it to come and help take the food away. So are we preempting? Are we being proactive in terms of, we are plating the food in the back, all right? Enoch's plating the food in the back. He then says to the coordinator, let's get hold of Clayton because we've got Tracy's food's coming. Now, Tracy gets warned that her food's ready. She can either pick up her service a little bit quicker or finish doing what she's doing a little bit faster so that she can come and collect her food. The next step is, as we all know, all food must be served together. So if it's 4, 5, 6, 10 people, are all the service ambassadors, when they hear that bell ring, ding, 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 are they all then coming through and fetching the food? There is nothing more sexy, beautiful than seeing a table of 6, and there's a procession of service ambassadors walking towards the table with all the meals, and then they stand at the table and they hand the food out. Yes, we know that everybody must eat together, okay, but are they being served their food together? Because a lot of times what happens is that you see a service ambassador going forward and backwards and forwards to the pass collecting meals. And what happens is somebody can actually sit at the table for about a minute with nobody else having their food in front of them. So make that your passion, your drive. Everybody eats together. All food arrives at the same time. And this is what your job is as the manager. Are bottles of wine being topped up? Am I going to go and top up a bottle of wine? Find an excuse to go and pour the wine. Hello, thank you very much. Let me top up your wine. Oh, thank you. Great selection of wine. Are you enjoying that? These are the things that we as management should be looking out for. And ensuring that you're managing, as I said, that the food is all coming at the same time, but all your waiters and waitresses are not spinning. Okay. Now, what happens is, as I used my example a little bit earlier, and I used Timothy. Timothy's now got 5 tables. Well, let's say he's got 4 tables. A 5th table now walks in, and he's got 2 tables that are eating. He's got 2 tables that are waiting for food. Okay. And as this other table arrives, he gets called to say, hey, we're swinging your food to one table. Now he's got to go and take the food to the table, but now a new table sits in his section. So what happens now? So what I always suggest and what I do is I observed this in my own restaurant, where I noticed that a lot of the waiters, a lot of the management were often swerving, spinning, if that makes sense. And I couldn't understand why, because I was always calm and collected. Even though I would go to a table and help take orders, I noticed that I did something slightly differently. And what I did was I made sure that when I went to the table, is that you go and you write the information as neatly as possible on a docket page, on a piece of paper. I then handed it over to the waiter or waitress or service ambassador so that they could read it, and then they just punched it into the computer. Because what have I now done? I've just made their lives a hell of a lot easier. As mentioned earlier, what is the busiest part of a waiter's day? It's taking the orders. Once the order is in the computer, a lot of our waiters and waitresses stand around with nothing to do. You watch your waiters today after lunch. They're at their busiest when they take the order. Then they're standing and they're waiting. Yes, you're going to say, but they've got to go set the table. Because I can go and set 4 tables at once. I can't take an order from 4 tables at once. So what happens is I take the order, I write it as neatly as possible, tear it off, give it to that particular service ambassador and say, here, read this order back to me, and they read the order back, say, thank you very much, go punch it into the computer. Or if I've got a code, what am I going to do? I'll punch it in myself. But ideally, give it to them. But make sure you double check that they've given you, that they've understood your handwriting and the order. That often helps your waiters and waitresses serve tables that much easier. It also helps you as a manager not spin. Because what was happening was the managers they were taking the order from the table, then they were putting it into the computer, then they were going to the kitchen to fetch it and taking it to the table. All of a sudden, they start serving the table. Now, I haven't got a manager managing the floor. I've got a manager serving a table. And that's not what we or you are employed to do. You're employed to manage. We have waiters and waitresses to serve tables. Oh, you might say, but what happens if Timothy, as an example, is busy? He's spinning. That's fine. Look for another waiter or waitress to possibly pick up the table. Yes, in extreme circumstances, you can pick up the table and serve it. But be very aware that when you start serving the table, that means that other people aren't being managed within the business. And this is what I really want to emphasize to you. So, like it says here, next point, have management address areas of service which are below the acceptable standards by coaching the relevant service ambassadors or staff members. I don't think it's only about just managing below the acceptable standards. I think it's about managing to improve the standards. Why not just look at how we can do that much better? Are we looking for ways to improve? the way in which we are serving our tables. Don't always look for things that are wrong. And this is what we talk about: motivate, validate, and circulate. The only way you can be successful as a floor manager is that you're continuously walking past and through your kitchen, past the tables, looking at the tables. And as I've said in some of my training, is that I'm actually jealous of certain guests, or actually of all the guests. You know, on that evening when they come in for their lunch or their dinner with their family members, I'm jealous because I want to be that person. So what do I do as the floor manager? Is I live through those people, and I make sure that I look at this. The guy's there with his husband and wife, and he's drinking a bottle of wine. What am I going to do? I'm going to top up his wine. Why am I going to top up his wine? Because that's what I would expect an oak who works in the business to do for me. That's what I would like them to do for me. So that's what I will do for that person. If a guy's with his whole lot of his friends with wives and it's a big party, you know, you want to make sure that the beers and the wines are being filled. The ladies are being looked after with cocktails, kicktails, mocktails, whatever you've got. You know, live through that table. Okay. And like, that's where the last point comes in. Are guests enjoying their dining experience? Are our guests enjoying their dining experience? Go and check on it. Hello, how are you? Great to have you here. You know, connect with the guests. Don't only be there to check if their meal is okay. And this is, if we have a look at what we've spoken about now, a lot of these things will prevent complaints from happening in your business. I firmly believe that a lot of guests don't complain because of good front of house management. I also think that if you give good front of house management and you've introduced yourself and they know who you are and they've seen your friendliness, that when it does come time to complain, is that they are then actually nice to you. They complain nicely because they've met you as being a nice person. You haven't been this arrogant, non-caring kind of character who's walked past their tables. So just some points just to think about there. And then last but not least, let's control it. You know, have you got a customer feedback book? Go reviews. Are we making sure that we're using various ways in which we're getting feedback from our guests? You know, asking ourselves, you know, what made our day difficult today? What made you mad? What took so long? What caused complaints today? What was misunderstood today? What was wasted? What did we do that you actually didn't need to do? That was a complete waste of time. You know, and these are all the little things that we want to look for in terms of at the end of our day. Because what I'm saying is that, you know, what made our day difficult today is we're looking to ways to make the day better. If you ran out of stock of an item, why did we run out of stock of that item? When did the flag go up? That what did we not do to make sure? Let me go back a little bit. What did we not do yesterday that caused us to run out of the stock today? Maybe we didn't check our prep sheets properly. Maybe we just took our eye off the ball ever so slightly. And it doesn't need to be a bad thing, but just look for ways to make your business better. So ladies and gentlemen, you know, working on our floors is magnificent. It's great fun. I look forward to working on a floor. For me, it's a sociable time. It's time just to chat to the guests, where you can just get to know them and thank them for their support, and just have fun with them. And I ask you and urge you to do exactly the same thing. Share good times and great times with your guests. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best. I thank you so much for listening to me, for participating in this particular chat, and just for taking the time out, as I said, to listen. And as you know, all of these things are there to make sure that our guests have a great time. And it's all about ensuring that our guests can have the enjoyable, entertaining eating experience. What are you doing to make sure that the guests come back? And, you know, I've shared this in the past, and it goes that, you know, as a floor manager, as a manager in a business, I always speak about a hot, warm glass of milk. You take a hot, warm milk, it's not that nice. You put some hot chocolate powder in there, 4 scoops of hot chocolate powder inside there, and you stir it up. Now you're talking. And that could be your waiters and waitresses bring the hot chocolate. But then you put a dollop of cream on top of that hot chocolate, and it is world class. Phenomenal. Question is, are you the cream? Are you bringing the cream? Or are you just leaving the tables to be served by the waiters and waitresses, service ambassadors, and the guests are just getting normal hot chocolate, or they're getting hot chocolate with cream? And that's where you come in. You are the cream. You bring the energy, the love. You're the ones who make sure the guests have a great time through the use of your kitchen staff and through the use of your service ambassadors. So I leave you with that as your parting thought. Bring the cream today. Have fun and enjoy yourselves. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.